And Jesus said to Bartholomew, "What do you want me to do?" And he said, "Lord, I want to see." In the first reading today, taking from the prophet Jeremiah, reminds us of the exile of the people of Israel, the second exile in Babylon, how they were scared, how they left everything, how they were undressed from everything that they have. They took away their language, their cult, their sacrifices, their holy days. Everything was taken away from them. And for 70 years they pray that God will remember them and will have mercy on them. And before you know it, the prophet Jeremiah, they say, God has heard your cry, and he is going to bring you back home, and he is going to give it to you as he promised to your fathers. And now that you have made up for your sin, you remember that you have one thing to do, and that is to have faith in him and to keep his covenant. With that thought, we go in the gospel today, and we find Jesus was going to Jericho. And all of a sudden, by the way, all the evangelists mentioned this episode because this was very important, where Jesus demonstrates his divinity. A blind man called Bartholomew was begging for money, was begging for alms. All of a sudden, he asked the people, "What's going on, this commotion?" And they told him that Jesus of Nazareth is coming by. And he said these beautiful sentence, which is very powerful: "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on us." The blind man recognized him by faith that Jesus is the Son of the Promised One. And David is the one that, because of his belief in God, now Christ came to shower his mercy, that mercy that God has for his people. And then the people begin to silence him. "Please do not. You were interrupting the situation here." And the more they told him to silence, the more he screamed, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on us." Jesus took notice of this, and he called the man to himself, and he said to him, "What can I do for you?" "Jesus, I want to see." Why he want to see? Because he was not happy with his life. He was not fulfilling his identity by staying there and wait for somebody to have mercy for him and give him money. He wants to see so he can have a job, so he can have a family, so he can establish himself. Because sight is very good at everything for human flesh. And we know that Jesus said, "Your faith has saved you." Why he said that? Because the man was told to be silent. But the more they told him to be silent, the more he shouted out. And that is for us too, dear people. How many times we find people of our own family who suppress us from shouting and praising God for his blessing in our lives, and to intercede him in our tribulations. How many times we find people and say, "Why pray? And why doing this? Look, all the goodness that you did, look what's happened to you." But Bartholomew, he ignored the people, and he shouted more louder. Why? Because he knows that the one who is passing by is the one who can do him the greatest gift that he need to receive, the gift of sight. And that is exactly the theme for each one of us today. The theme is the faith. That faith that although we don't see with the eyes, you don't hear it with the ears of the flesh, we have faith that the one who makes the promise is willing enough to fulfill it. And that's exactly what the author to the Hebrews said to us, that each priest, he's talking about the Old Testament priest, each priest were chosen from among the people to represent the people. Why? To offer sacrifice for himself, because he was sinful too, and also to intercede for the people. That is the office of a priest. The priest is not for himself. I am not a priest for myself. For myself, I am a Christian. For you, I am a priest. Because my priesthood is the ministry that I give to you. Without that ministry, I am not a priest. And what is the priest? To offer sacrifice. To offer praises to God. Why offer praise to God? So that the praises that I will give to God, He will have mercy on me, and He have mercy on those whom I, in our behalf, I become a... So that's why He said, this is not something that we take it on our own, as God has chosen our. And so each one of us, those who are called to be priests, I'm talking about the ministry priests, are chosen by God, not by people. How many times we hear people say, well, you make a good priest. Yes, it's nice, that is a compliment, but it's God who is chosen. God is the one who put the seeds. God is the one who really calling in the individual for that great ministry. And then the individual has to answer yes to the invitation. And that's why He said Jesus came to be the mediator. So He Himself was chosen by God, the Father. And He was sent to be the mediator. And He took on Himself our own flesh, our own suffering, our own hardship. And He is the one who intercedes in front of the Father on our behalf. So you see, dear people, the mercy of God comes to the ministry of the church still. Why? Because Jesus came to establish the church on what He received from the Father, as the Father said, you are my Son, and you are a priest forever, according to the line of Melchizedek. Now, that same love that the Father has for His Son, He gave it to us. Because each one of us, by virtue of baptism, by virtue of the death and resurrection of Jesus, we become children of God, members of the family of God. We become brothers and sisters with Christ, with God our Father. That's why we call God our Father, because He is the Father of us all. But now there is one thing necessary, and that is that we believe in Jesus, who the one who really is the intercessor, the one who is the mediator, the one who is between us and the Heavenly Father, to have mercy on us, to shower His mercy on us. Because each one of us are blind, not physically, maybe not physically, but we are blind spiritually. How many times we don't see with the eyes of God, but we see with the eyes of humans? How many times we act with the action of human, not the action of God? How many times we see people who are in need, and instead of open our heart like God did in His person of Jesus Christ, we shut our heart and say, well, there is other government agency, and there is the church take care of them. I have nothing to do with this. This is what really is all about, dear people. The blindness that we have, that we don't see, we don't feel with the heart of Jesus. And Jesus did not want to go by, as Bartholomew was screaming and shouting at Jesus, but He stopped. And He called Bartholomew. In fact, they told him, have courage. The Master is calling you. What do you want to do? What do you want me to do? Huh? That I may see. And that is the prayer of each one of us today. That each one of us will pray to Jesus and say, Lord, make me see. Not with these eyes that sometimes deceive me. Not with these ears that sometimes deceive me. But make me see with the heart of that you have for us, the heart of passion and the heart of love that you have for us. This is the kind of blindness that we need to pray to be taken away from us, because the spiritual blindness is worse than the physical blindness. Why? Because when we are spiritually dead and spiritually blind, we cannot see really the love of the Father in our lives and in the lives of others. That's why I told you in the beginning of the Mass, who is God for me? A God of mercy. Who I am? I'm supposed to be a candidate, a disciple of Jesus of mercy. And who are the others? A challenge in my life to show mercy. That's the message today that we have. May the message of the readings today remind us that God, who although 70 years passed by, remembered the promise that He made to Abraham, to Isaac and Jacob, and fulfilled that promise by bringing back the chosen people from exile into the promised land. And so He will do to us, that He will shower His mercy as He showered on Bartholomew, so that we can see, so that we cannot remain blind to the needs of those around us. God bless.